Rob Blackman.
And hi, everyone. Good evening and welcome to Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union. It is time for the Matt Painter Show, and we're happy you're with us here on this Tuesday night. Purdue Boilermakers are 3-0 on the young season after last night's 83-71 win over visiting Xavier at Mackey Arena, part of the Gavitt Games. With the victory, Purdue now can focus all of its attention on its trip to Hawaii. Purdue heads to Honolulu this weekend to get ready to play in the Maui Classic, which has been moved to Honolulu this year, and a big matchup coming next Monday when the Boilermakers face the 11th-ranked team in the country, Gonzaga. Speaking of rankings, in case you missed it yesterday, Purdue did move up one spot in the AP poll. Purdue is ranked second this week in the latest Associated Press poll. My name is Rob Blackman. So nice to have you with us tonight at Walk-Ons. Remember, the Matt Painter Show brought to you by GEMCO Constructors. GEMCO Constructors is supporting your Boilermakers as the presenting sponsor of the Matt Painter Show and a proud partner of Purdue Athletics. GEMCO Constructors says boiler up. Tonight, our special guest joining me on the program is the Director of Operations for Purdue men's basketball. His name is Elliot Bloom. He'll be my guest to talk all things Purdue basketball, as well as maybe give a little peek behind the curtain of how things work from an operational standpoint for Purdue, especially with a pretty big week coming here with our Boilermakers headed over to Hawaii here for a few days. So we'll talk with Elliot about that when we come back. A couple of things quickly. Thank you very much for those that are watching tonight, either on the Facebook page or maybe the YouTube page or on Twitter/X. If you are indeed going through the trouble to do that, thank you. For those listening on the Varsity Network app or just the old-fashioned way on the radio, no matter how you found us tonight, we do thank you very much for supporting Purdue basketball. It is the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Working on the outside. Smith from deep. Eddie connects. The sophomore.
Shawnee State, the way he's played, it really is phenomenal, and it's been exciting this season.
Smith will pitch it to Edie, and a slam from the senior.
And Edie's had to come back in, and it's a slightly worrying sign that happens without him.
Edie puts it up and draws the foul. He'll shoot free throws.
The job there from Moorhead to pick up those defensive rebounds.
8 rebounds for Zach Edie. He's nearing a double-double.
And straight away, Jones charging in there, happy to lay that one up.
That's a tough shot from Thomas. That was open, but it was deep.
But I think it just shows Moorhead's confidence is up. They weren't taking those threes early on in the first half. Nice put down there from Kaufman-Wren. That shot was always missing from Lathan. Just a bit more speed here from the Boilermakers. Jones once again, splash, that goes down.
And that's the kind of spark that this team needs coming out of the half. We talked about a 2-minute scoring drive going into the locker room.
Because I do think they were open as Jones looked to take the shot there. Decides to take it inside. And there, straight to Edie, boom. And we've seen that a million times here in Mackey Arena.
It's hard to top 9 threes in a single game.
Great steal there by Jones, and Smith brings it down. And the alley-oop does fall. Was waiting to decide whether it was going to fall or not. A great alley-oop. And great chemistry there. And once again, it's Jones leading that charge as he holds the ball here. And he's going to take a deep shot. And that falls. And gets this place up on its feet. I mean, the electricity that he brings. Go around the world, doesn't get it to fall. And Scott here has it open. Heidi chasing. And Heidi denies him there. Under a minute here, when you have such depth, it's a weird one. It's like, right, I want choices, but man, I really want to make sure I'm making the right ones. Odell sends that one up, and one! Great job there.
Jones.
Welcome back to Walk-Ons. Everyone needs a little playing time, so before a Purdue basketball game or any time throughout the week, stop by Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where it's always game day with a taste of Louisiana. Matt Painter Show on a Tuesday night. Thanks for making a change in your schedule. Obviously, we couldn't do it last night, Monday night, because the Boilermakers were in Mackey Arena taking care of a little Gavitt Games with a win over Xavier 83-71. Director of Basketball Operations for Purdue men's basketball, Elliot Bloom, was my special guest tonight. Coach Bloom, good win for our ball club last night. First real opportunity, as you know, to play some high major competition, and we passed the test.
Yeah, a little step up in weight class, so to speak, and thought the guys did pretty well. We were in the office this morning and started watching film as a staff, and the thing that jumped out, I think that is kind of exciting for us, is at least I didn't feel this way during the game last night, that we were ever really threatened. I mean, it got down a little bit, couple possession game early in the second half, but down the stretch, it felt like we were always kind of keeping them at bay. And yet, when we watched the film, a lot of guys had a lot more to give and a lot things that we could have cleaned up and played a lot better. It's one of those things where we beat a good team. I think Xavier's is a talented team. They're young, but they've got a lot of good players on that team. I think they're going to get better as the year goes on and end up winning a lot of games. And yet we were able to win a game and control a game and yet have a lot of room to improve and play better. So that's an exciting aspect of that.
Well, one thing we've seen in the first 3 games of the regular season play is the three-point shooting has been much improved. Now, small sample size.
Right.
But 46% again last night. I didn't realize this until our sports information director, Chris Foreman, passed along this note. There were only 2 games last year our team shot 46% or better in the entire season, and we've already done it twice this year.
Yeah, there's certainly some good signs. I think the other aspect of that is they're being made by a variety of guys too.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's not like we've got 1 or 2 shooters and they've put up good numbers over we've added a lot of shooting. If you think about our roster compared to last year, the 3 new guys that are in the rotation with Miles Colvin, Cam Heide, and Lance Jones. Not only are they our 3 most athletic guys on the roster, but they also, each of them can really shoot it from outside. And it's been a welcome addition to have that. You know, when you have the big fella in the middle there, anytime you can surround him with shooters, you really put the other team in a bind. And these guys have been kind of opening up the floor and knocking down open shots. So it's been great to see, and it's a trend we hope continues throughout the year.
Well, you meant those 3 names you mentioned. The other thing I really like about those 3, they are not bashful.
No.
I think it was the season opener. Cam Heide wasn't in the game for about 5 seconds, and he was shooting an open 3.
Yeah.
And last night, Miles, 3 for 3 shooting, never hesitated. Lance Jones is maybe taking a few threes that the coach would like to see him get a little closer, maybe than 35 feet away. My point being, they are not scared.
I think somewhere in our area code is preferred, is what Coach Painter said today as we were watching that. Lance has shot a couple deep ones. He's made one of those, which probably hasn't helped the cause. But, yeah, those guys have a confidence in their ability to stroke it from deep, and that's huge. That's half the battle, and that's something that they're going to be relied upon to do, is to come in and make shots, and to be able to do it right in off the bench is something that's really hard. I mean, if you've never played, to sit there and watch a game for whatever it might be, 5, 6, 10 minutes, and then to come right into a game and be able to make shots from the perimeter, that's a pretty good trait to have.
The one thing with Cam and with Miles, and Coach Painter's talked about this publicly, when those 2 guys are willing on the defensive end, that just makes them so much more valuable, doesn't it?
Yeah, those 2 guys last night I thought did some really good things defensively. And I told Miles after the game, we were in the locker room kind of congratulating everybody on the win. I said, you did go 3 for 3 from behind the arc, and that was huge. But let's not lose sight that if you would have given up 8 points on the other end, you probably would have came out. Right. And you didn't.
Right.
You know, he held his own in a game that featured a lot of athletes. But those are games that those guys are kind of made for. You know, they're athletic themselves. Their biggest hurdle defensively is just still getting acclimated to the pace of play at this level, the physicality at this level, and then just having more reps. And as the season goes on and they get more reps and they get more comfortable on that end of the floor, they're just going to continue to take off, and I could see their minutes growing even a little bit more.
Speaking of guys who look awfully comfortable right now, Braden Smith, what a high level he's playing at, don't you think?
Yeah, he's doing a really good job. I think it's one of those things where you make a big jump between your freshman and sophomore year. I think that's been the case as long as college basketball's been around. You go through things as a freshman and you're kind of wide-eyed and you really lack confidence in certain areas, although Braden's a very confident guy and had a great freshman year. You really can't prep for that without having gone through it. Now as a sophomore, all these challenges and all these games that he plays in, he's seen all this before. He's been through it before. And physically, he's much better than he was last year. He's stronger. His stamina's better. And he just knows what to expect in general. So he's elevated his game as you would expect most guys to do between their freshman and sophomore years.
You know what always amazed me the most about how good he was right out of the gate last year, and most fans either didn't know this or had forgotten it, he missed the whole summer. coming into his freshman year because of injury.
Right.
We had no prep time.
Yeah, we were going to take a European trip last summer, and we ended up having to push it a year because we had Cam Heide was out with a foot injury. Braden Smith was out with a foot injury. I think Caleb with his he was out as well. So we had 3 guys who just weren't able to go, and Braden missed all that time and then came right in. And his first kind of, I guess, big game was that Marquette game last year in the Gavitt game. So
yes.
he came in and really played well and kind of was the reason we ended up, being able to come back and overtake Marquette down the stretch and win that game. And then, who would have known at that point that it was this time last year after that Marquette win that both teams were going to go on and win their league? Nobody would have guessed at that point last year. So who knows? Maybe this is one of those situations where Xavier's going to go on and have a really, really successful Big East season. It's funny because every time you play a non-conference team like that, you become their biggest fans after you beat them because we just want to see that net number increase as the year goes on. So we're going to be pulling for Xavier down the stretch here.
And Marquette has continued to be good, ranked 4th in the country this week in the latest AP poll. And, of course, our Boilermakers are up to number 2. Glad you mentioned the European trip that you were going to take last year. Instead, you took it this August, and I want to talk to you about that when we come back. This is the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Like Octagon wrestles it away from him. Screen from Edey, gets a drive from Smith, and he scores. And the rebound one-handed for Kaufman-Renn. Purdue will run here. On the pitch to the wing, it's a 3 for Lance Jones. Usman driving on Edey. Oh, no, sir. Next couple of changes, Trey Green is on an instant score. He turns it over immediately, and Purdue coming the other direction. On the lob and the stop, and that was nasty.
Creates a mismatch and an opportunity for Purdue to run, and Heide.
Claude lost the basketball. Jones ahead of the fray, dropping it off. Heide off the spin.
They're going to react a little bit differently defensively, so you have to run those plays a little differently.
10 to shoot. There's the drive, and it's batted away, taken by Caleb first from behind. It's huge for that Sweet 16 team.
And he likened Quincy Olivari as a very similar product to Soleil Bowman. That's
pitch into the corner from Smith. And it's good. Second one for Colvin.
And Smith and retention to Xavier for another offensive possession.
Steal for Lawyer. Looking behind him, he knows he has Smith. He's going to take it himself and score hard off the window. Edey rolling to the rim. 2 and a foul somehow, some way.
As Smith turns the corner, Usman has to help a little bit. Get Edey.
Caleb first. 4-3. Big hurry. Down the lane, Smith. Kick out, Morton. Yes.
The trail guy a lot of the times.
Oh boy. Oliveri had it pancaked. And this will be Purdue basketball.
This is the Matt Painter Show, live from Walk-Ons tonight. Rob Blackman here. My guest host is Elliot Bloom, Director of Basketball Operations for Purdue men's basketball. The 2023-24 Purdue basketball season presented by Purdue Global, Purdue's online university for working adults. Earn a degree you're proud of and employers respect. Start your comeback today at purdueglobal.edu. All right, Coach Bloom, you mentioned you wanted to, your team wasn't healthy enough, but you wanted to last summer do a European trip that got bumped to this past August when your team did go to Europe, played 4 games in 3 different countries.
We ended up playing in 3 different countries. We played 2 games in Germany.
Gotcha.
We actually went up to the Czech Republic and played a game up there. And then our last game was in Austria.
So couple of things here. You'll have to refresh my memory, and certainly for the listeners. The NCAA allows you to do these trips how often?
Every 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Every 4 years you get to go on a foreign trip. So our last one that we did was to Spain, and that ended up being, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago, because we had COVID was in there. COVID messed everything up. So I think we pushed a year around the COVID time. We pushed another year last year, which we referenced. And so then we were able to go this year. It was a great trip. It was We flew into Munich, played 2 games in Munich. I'm always amazed. I think the biggest thing about these trips that always blows me away is we'll go to a gym somewhere, and we'll walk in, and there'll be Purdue fans there. And that happened in all 4 games we were over there. We walked in the gym, and we went to 4 different gyms. We went the first game was in kind of in Munich, in the city there. The second game was on the outskirts of Munich. And both places, there's Purdue fans. And one guy showed up, and he hung the Purdue flag behind the basket. They had like a balcony area, and he hung a Purdue flag up, which was really cool. And our guys noticed that stuff, and they're just blown away that there's Purdue fans all over the planet. And then we went over to the Czech Republic. We had a game time change. We moved the game time. It was like a week before we had shifted our game time. And not only was there a Purdue couple having a beer in a little bistro as we were walking into the gym, but they were season ticket holders as well. And they were over there visiting her family and caught the game. So it's a small world in some ways.
Well, for those who do not know, one of your major duties with Purdue men's basketball is actually scheduling road trips and the like. How involved are you on something like this, a foreign trip, or do you have some help from some other outside entities?
So the company we use helps to secure the teams. That would be a daunting task to try to reach out and find teams to play. That time of year, the challenging part is always to get teams that, because of the time of year, they're just starting to assemble for their coming seasons. So sometimes one of the teams we played in Germany was a collection of professionals in that league. And then another team was the actual team that they had been like 4 or 5 days into their training camp. So you're not getting them at their best time. The competition's not great. We did a foreign trip to Australia a long time ago with Rob and Etwan and Juwan and those guys. They were it was basically going into their, I think, sophomore year when we knew we were going to be pretty good. And we caught an Australian team that was in the middle of their season because the seasons are reversed over there. So they're in the middle of their season, and our guys went in. We were going to be preseason, around number 10 in the country. We thought we were pretty good, and they killed us. And it was great. The coaches loved it because it kind of humbled our guys and brought them back down to earth a little bit. But these teams that we played now, they'll be better as the year goes on, but we catch them at the beginning. There was an interesting note outside of Munich. There was a town called Ulm, U-L-M. And we were driving over to Austria, and we saw this town, and that's where Dakota Mathias and Travion Williams are actually teammates now in that town on that team together. So, and then Carson Edwards is playing in Munich too. So we just missed those guys. We were kind of rolling out, and they were coming in the next week, so we missed them by 4 or 5 days when they were getting ready to report for their training camps.
Any good or interesting stories our fans might enjoy from that overseas trip? Any behind-the-scenes stuff that the fans will be like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, we had a lost passport that we were able to kind of overcome, and thank goodness that the U.S. The consulate was right next door to our hotel in Vienna. That made things very easy. We were able to get that handled. But I'll tell you, those trips are great because for most of our guys, they're out of the country for the first time.
Yeah.
And they're getting to experience a new culture, and in this case, several countries, and really get out of their comfort zone. And always for me, we give them a lot of free time to be able to explore the cities and things like that. And we were at our hotel in Vienna one night, and the guys were going to go out and get something to eat and check some things out. And I was in the lobby, and I was kind of noticing what was going on. And it kind of happened organically, but they all got together as a group, and they all walk out, 17 of them, to go grab a bite. And I don't know if that happens when they're here. If all 17 are going to get together and go hang out. I mean, I know we have a pretty close team, but, like any family, so to speak, you don't necessarily want to hang out with Uncle Bill all the time.
Right.
So
certainly 16 other Uncle Bills.
I mean, think about Thanksgiving. How many guys, how many people are over there watching football, and how many people are over in another room, and how many people are upstairs taking a nap because they don't want anything to do with the rest of the family.
Yes.
So it was really cool to see those guys all go out and hang out together and get out of their comfort zone. And trips like that, that's part of why you do it, because it brings a team together and makes them closer.
We'll be back with more with Elliot Bloom in about, say 2 minutes or so. This is the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
Bonus volleyball here on Big Ten Plus as Hornung sends that one away, and she finds the floor.
From the outside, she's had 2 aces today.
Swing from Lourdes Myers. Spartans able to keep it alive. Chicoine sends it away. Chloe Chicoine, her 4th ace of the afternoon. Set up again for Hudson. And Eva Hudson.
That's a tough serve by Kulig.
Set up for Hold'em, blocked by Myers. And Chicoine finds some open space in the backcourt. To serve it away. Magic number for the Boilermakers is 2. Set up for Moore. Moore blocked, gets her own block. Ball over. Chicoine again. Chloe Chicoine coming up huge for the Boilermakers in set 4.
They'll use that bench through the game, no doubt. Abby Ellis drives through, kicks it out to Layden. Three-pointer up and good. In Madison Layden.
Finding her dynamic duo, Abby Ellis over here.
Feed to the baseline, layup up and good. Madison Layden, more like Madison layup. Now it's Janae Terry pushing in transition, 3-on-4. Euro step up the middle, got blocked, shot out to Terry, and it's an unbelievable assist. Obillo had a little bit of a cold stretch here as Terry with the nice crossover. High feed to Harper and gets the mismatch to go. Legions misses that one. Ball to Layden. Three-pointer up and good.
Lights out player so far this year for her team.
Terry passes it to Ellis. Mid-range jumper up and good. So now for Purdue, it's the ball going forward to Layden. McKenna Layden has it knocked loose. Feed to the post. Harper.
Purdue Athletics would like to thank and recognize members of the Black and Gold Club who support Purdue Athletics through their sponsorship at the highest level. Black and Gold Club members include Indiana Packers, Purdue Federal Credit Union, Molson Coors, Purdue Global, Rohrman Automotive, and Wabash, each great partners of Purdue Athletics. Rob Blackman is my name. Elliot Bloom, Director of Basketball Operations for Purdue Men's Basketball, with me tonight on the Coach Painter Show. Live, as always, at Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where it's always game day with a taste of Louisiana. Since we were just talking, Coach Bloom, about foreign trips in the last segment, let us fast forward to the foreign trip we have on the schedule this year to Toronto in December. How did that game come about? And obviously it makes sense for Zach Edey being a Toronto native, but how did that game come around?
Well, we did it for Zach. It was one of those things where last year, as I was working on the non-conference schedule, which for next year I'm currently doing. And I thought, boy, it would really be cool if Zach ends up back here to get him home to Toronto.
Sure.
And at that point, he was really tracking towards, national. It was his National Player of the Year award to lose. Let's put it that way. So it would have been a really cool deal to get him back there with the season he was having and just what he's meant to our team and program in college basketball. And it's also something that is good for us to be able to use recruiting-wise and let young people know that there's a good chance we might get you home if you come to Purdue from distance. So made a few phone calls with some tournament organizers. We ended up partnering with the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, and they are actually the ones that have organized this event and started putting it together and letting them know a good date, got the date that worked, and then they started making phone calls and working the phone lines to find possible opponents for us. And then came back and settled on Alabama, and then there's another game that day as well. I think it's TCU Clemson is going to play right after us. So all that got put into play and got contracts going and everything, and then we had the contract ready to go, and we had Zach had a decision to make, obviously.
Right. Well, that was going to be my next question. Was it contingent on Zach coming back?
No, we didn't put any kind of clause in there. Alabama had a kid that was from Toronto as well that ended up going pro. So he's not there now, but our guy obviously is back, and we're happy about that. But it was one of those things where we kind of had make a decision, and we rolled the dice a little bit, and thank goodness that it worked out. I think it's going to be really cool. It's going to be really special for Zach to get home. He had a bunch of friends and family that reached out and wanted tickets, and so they were able to kind of secure a block of tickets. I bet he's probably going to have, I don't know, 100, 150 tickets in a block that, you know, that they purchased, and they have a group that's coming and really excited and everything like that. So I think it's going to be kind of surreal for him. Zach's pretty laid back, and you've been around him. You know, it's hard. He'd be a good poker player. It's hard to get a read on what Zach is thinking. But I think when we get up there, it'll probably hit him how cool it'll be to be in his home city.
Well, and I would think from a tournament organizer standpoint, or not, it's not necessarily a tournament, but a one-day event, to have the reigning National Player of the Year is a pretty good deal for them, too.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great crowd. There is a ton of Purdue people that plan on going. It seems like everybody I talk to is talking about this trip and excited to get up there. Toronto is a little bit closer than I think people realize.
Right.
You talk about, you know,
yes, it is.
Canada, and I know it's another country, but then you start looking at the fact that you can, it's drivable. It's a pretty quick flight, so there's a lot of. It's on a weekend. It's a good time slot. It's going to be it's a 1:15 tip on a Saturday, so it checks a lot of boxes in terms of making it travel friendly for our fans. So I think we're anticipating a really cool weekend up there, and something that I think Zach's looking forward to.
We'll talk with Coach Bloom just a little bit more when we return. This is the Coach Painter Show, brought to you by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker basketball from Lear Field.
At running back, Card, pump fake to the left, now looking straight down the middle of the defense and throws a touchdown. 1st and 10. Card has time. Card looking toward the end zone, and this is caught for the touchdown. What a grab it was. T.J. Sheffield with a terrific route.
Hanging in the pocket, and Sheffield running through the contact. He got grabbed, he got held. They're banged up. These guys are responding.
Couple of running backs in the game, and this is Tracy who burst into the secondary out across the 40. He will take it. So
block back. I'm going to kick out. You go north and south. Really nice job by the Boilermakers.
Picked up of 17. Now right after it, Cole down the field, and that is caught now inside the 10. Why not give him the football? Tracy in for the touchdown.
Wow. Taking some time who plays with their feet throughout this game.
Maccabee gets the ball. Maccabee with the lane. Now Maccabee bursting down the sideline. It's a sprint to the end zone. Can Maccabee get there? And he is dragged down. Card keeping himself. Touchdown Purdue. Handoff. Maccabee. They call him Crazy Legs, but Crazy Legs can run. Maccabee out across midfield. Texas, and here he is. Now Card. Nice move.
Got him.
Card looking downfield. Card, a touchdown. That's why you go get him. Dion Burks was behind the defense. And a touchdown rushing. Card scanning. Card. Wow. Somehow gets away. Now Card is still on his feet, has a completion, has a first down. Incredible play. It's Garrett Miller who was banged up.
Now the British again.
Heat in his face. Caliac man is trying to retreat, and down he goes.
Purdue over Xavier last night, 83-71 at Mackey Arena. It means the Boilermakers have now won 27 straight non-conference regular season games. Coach Painter Show brought to you by GEMCO Constructors. Supporting your Boilermakers is the presenting sponsor of the Matt Painter Show and a proud partner of Purdue Athletics. GEMCO Constructors says Boiler up. Elliot Bloom, my special guest tonight, Director of Basketball Operations for Purdue men's basketball. One of his, and he mentioned it earlier, one of his major duties is scheduling non-conference games for Purdue basketball. You've said you're already working on next year's schedule as we speak. This year's schedule, and I want to start with Arkansas, actually. How did that game come about? Because at the end of the day, man, that ends up being, I felt like a really good tune-up to get our club ready for the season.
Yeah, that was perfect. We were shopping for a scrimmage, and in the past we've done it a variety of ways. We met West Virginia over in Columbus, Ohio for 2 or 3 straight years. That was great. We did Providence a couple years back-to-back. We met them once in Indianapolis, played them at the Pacers facility, and then went out and played them at their arena a couple years ago. And this year we were kind of on a new cycle, so to speak, and we were kind of looking for something and reached out. Coach and I sat down one time. We were like, okay, who's somebody that could really test us and push us and be somebody that's really different? We were throwing out names. I said, what about Arkansas? And he said, oh, I know a guy on staff down there. So he texted him and just said, hey, what are you guys doing? Are you looking for anything? And they came right back and said, last year we went down to Texas, into Austin, and they gave us some money to help us with travel, but we just did a one-time deal down there. We did it for charity, and we're actually thinking about doing the same thing here. We thought, that's perfect, done. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
it was great. Worked out really well. It was a true road atmosphere. They had 18,000 people down there, which was great, and it ended up working well, and we gained a lot of valuable lessons down there.
A question from here in the audience from Annie, and it concerns scheduling. With the Maui Invitational coming up, the importance of playing another Power 5 conference school to get ready for what is going to be a monster of a tournament as far as talented teams. You have not just one, but 2 Power 5 teams that you can put in your resume now if you count Arkansas and Xavier.
Yeah, those you can't get enough of that. And I think the teams that show up to these tournaments and just jump right into the deep end of the pool without a little tune-up, without some swimming lessons first, I think that's really tough. You know, I think last year it helped us that we played Marquette before we got to Portland to Portland and played West Virginia, and then went on to play Gonzaga and Duke. If you don't have those, there's an adjustment period when you step up a weight class, and so if you don't have a little of that under your belt, there's going to be, now hopefully that adjustment period's like, 2 minutes and not like a whole half or a whole game. But for some teams it is a whole game, and then you end up losing a game, and then maybe panic sets in, then you lose another game, and then you come back and the trip is basically ruined and you don't feel good about your team. But hopefully we get up out to Hawaii and we feel good about things, and our guys have seen what a team on our level kind of looks like. We certainly won't go into an environment that will be any more, intimidating than what we saw down at Fayetteville when we played Arkansas. So we feel like we've got them well prepared, and we're going to need it because it's probably the best field in the history of the Maui Invitational.
Oh, how could it not be? Number 1, Kansas. Number 4, Marquette. Number 7, Tennessee. Number 11, Gonzaga. And, oh, by the way, number 2, Purdue.
Yeah, somebody told me today that Lenardi did his bracketology, and I think 3 of the 4 1 seeds are out there in that.
Wow.
Which is incredible.
Wow.
I mean, it's one of those tournaments. And, you can look at I know we're early into this season so far, but you can make a case that perhaps Tennessee, James Madison probably has the best road win in the country, winning at Michigan State. But you can make an argument that Tennessee's win at Wisconsin is one of the better wins right now, and it's early, but they're sitting right there on our side of the bracket, and Gonzaga is a program that we're very familiar with, that we see right out of the gates. So it's loaded for sure.
Well, Tennessee, they won also at Michigan State in a scrimmage game, right?
In a scrimmage game, yeah. So so much like us, they're battle tested, and they've gone out and played some people early, and it'll be if we end up meeting them in the second round. That will be just like all the others. I don't know if I can separate team to team. You look at that field and you're like, it doesn't matter. There's going to be 3 games against quality competition.
Bobby Riddell and we talked about this last night on the broadcast and the postgame show. There is going to be a really, really good team. Some team ranked in the top 11 in the country that's coming home from Hawaii with 2 losses.
Right.
That's
right. And at the end of the day, when teams schedule, and sometimes when I talk to other teams and we're talking scheduling or whatever, I always tell them, just play the best teams you can play as much as you can play. Because even if you come home 1-2, it's not the end of your season. It doesn't hurt you. Like, nobody in March goes, well, they took on number 3 Purdue and they took on number 4 Tennessee and they lost, so we're going to keep them out of the tournament. That's never been said on Selection Sunday in the history of the tournament.
Right.
What they do say is, hey, they scheduled those teams and they played them competitively, so we know they're a pretty good team. So that gets you points. And then if you're able to beat those teams, then it just pushes your net rating through the roof, and it improves your seeding.
From a scheduling standpoint, with the Gavitt games now going away, this is the last year ever for the Gavitt games. There's no longer a Big Ten ACC challenge because the Big Ten is no longer associated with ESPN on a regular basis. How has that changed your scheduling from trying to find games for Purdue?
Well, it's made it harder. I mean, our philosophy is, Coach Painter wants to play good teams. He wants to play a lot of good teams in the non-conference. We want to challenge our guys, get them ready for the Big Ten season, but also basically what you're doing is you're not only preparing yourself for conference, but you're also trying to strategically give yourself the best chance to have the best net rating you can, which is the new version of the old RPI, and it's what the selection committee looks at when they go to seed the NCAA tournament. So the higher net you have, the better seed you're going to get. And so to do that, you've got to go play people. And it's harder when those games were kind of served up to you on a platter. It's hard now to go out and try to manufacture those games on your own. And the factors that go into it, you have to find teams that have the same open date that you do. You have to find teams that are willing to start on the road or at home or vice versa. So that's usually, if by the time you get through that, I could take 30 teams that everybody in this room and everybody that are Purdue fans, they all want to play. Like, we all want to play these great teams. And I could call all 30 of them and say, well, guess what? Only 2 of them will work based on their needs and our needs. And so that can be frustrating from time to time, but you kind of got to stick with it and find the teams that want to hook up and play, and then eventually you try to get something worked out.
This is the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO. More in a moment. This is the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Working on the outside. Smith from deep. Eddie connects. The sophomore.
Shawnee State and the way he's played, it really is phenomenal, and it's been exciting this season.
Smith will pitch it to Edie and a slam from the senior.
And Edie's had to come back in, and it's a slightly worrying sign that happens without him.
Edie puts it up and draws the foul. He'll shoot free throws.
The job there from Moorhead to pick up those defensive rebounds.
8 rebounds for Zach Edie. He's nearing a double-double.
And straight away, Jones charging in there, happy to lay that one up.
That's a tough shot from Thomas. That was open, but it was deep.
But I think it just shows Moorhead's confidence is up. They weren't taking those threes early on in the first half. Nice put down there from Kaufman-Wren. That shot was always missing from Lathan. Just a bit more speed here from the Boilermakers. Jones once again, splash, that goes down.
And that's the kind of spark that this team needs coming out of the half. We talked about a 2-minute scoring drive going into the locker room.
Because I do think they were open as Jones looked to take the shot there. Decides to take it inside. And there, straight to Edie, boom. And we've seen that a million times here in Mackey Arena.
It's hard to top 9 threes in a single game.
Great steal there by Jones, and Smith brings it down. And the alley-oop does fall. Was waiting to decide whether it was going to fall or not. A great alley-oop. And great chemistry there. And once again, it's Jones leading that charge as he holds the ball here. And he's going to take a deep shot. And that falls. And gets this place up on its feet. I mean, the electricity that he brings. Go around the world, doesn't get it to fall. And Scott here has it open. Heidi chasing. And Heidi denies him there. After a minute here, when you have such depth, it's a weird one. It's like, right, I want choices, but man, I really want to make sure I'm making the right ones. Odell sends that one up and one. Great job there.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO. We're at Walk-Ons here in the Purdue Memorial Union. That's where you find us every time we're talking Boilermaker basketball on the Coaches Show. This reminder, everyone needs a little playing time, so before a Purdue basketball game or any time throughout the week, stop by Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where it's always game day with a taste of Louisiana. A question from here in the audience during the commercial break. Coach Bloom, any chance we might find Notre Dame on the regular season schedule someday in the near future, now that our good friend Micah Shrewsbury is the head coach up there?
Possibly. They are going to San Diego the same year we are. So next year our tournament will be in San Diego. They're in that field. It's a 2-game event, so it's Notre Dame, Purdue, BYU, and Arkansas are the 4 teams in that field. So there's a chance we could hook up out there. I know that they have some interest in getting down to Indy and playing in that event that we're in every year. Mike has talked about that. I think the last time they discussed that, he wanted to get recruiting going a little bit and kind of get his team established. You know, they only had three players remain on their team from the previous coach. So he's trying to get it going, and I think once he does, he'll want to have a presence down in Indianapolis, and we could end up now, whether or not they play us in Indianapolis, I'm not sure. They may be the other game in that event.
Sure.
Whether or not we ever play a home and home again, I would never say never. And obviously, tons of respect between the two head coaches, which is, that's right out of the gate. You have to have a coach that wants to do that. So we'll see. I think that could absolutely be a possibility. It's one of those things where, from a travel standpoint, it's easy. It certainly grabs the fans' interest. And as long as Micah and Paint think that that's a good thing, then that might happen.
Time now for our Pro Boilers feature, where we look at how a former Purdue student-athlete is doing in their professional sports career. Pro Boilers presented by Indiana Kitchen, premium pork products. Get to know us at indianakitchen.com. Tonight, I will focus on Charlie Jones, the rookie for the Cincinnati Bengals. Chuck Sizzle. I want to talk about Charlie because it looks like he's finally coming off the injured list. He had a thumb surgery after week 3 of the regular season. The Bengals play the Ravens this Thursday night. It looked like Charlie was actually going to be cleared to play this past Sunday against the Texans, but they decided at the last second, from what I read, to hold him out one extra week just to make sure he's ready to go. So Charlie Jones should be back in action for the Bengals this Thursday night when they play the Ravens, and that's probably good news for the Bengals special teams, because 8 punt returns this year, 150 yards and a touchdown for Charlie Jones. He has been a difference maker for them, certainly in the return game. More with Elliot Bloom when we come back here to the Matt Painter Show, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker basketball from Lear Field.
Like Octagon wrestles it away from him. Screen from Edey, gets a drive from Smith, and he scores. And the rebound one-handed for Kaufman-Renn. Purdue will run here. On the pitch to the wing, it's a 3 for Lance Jones. Usman driving on Edey. Oh, no, sir. Next couple of changes, Trey Green is on an instant score. He turns it over immediately, and Purdue coming the other direction. On the lob and the stop, and that was nasty.
Creates a mismatch and an opportunity for Purdue to run, and Edey.
Claude lost the basketball. Jones ahead of the fray, dropping it off. Heidi off the spin.
They're going to react a little bit differently defensively, so you have to run those plays a little differently.
10 to shoot. There's the drive, and it's batted away, taken by Caleb First from behind. It's huge for that Sweet 16 team.
And he likened Quincy Olivari as a very similar product to Soleil Boom, and that's
pitch into the corner from Smith, and it's good. Second one for Colvin.
And Smith and retention to Xavier for another offensive possession.
Steal for Lawyer. Looking behind him, he knows he has Smith. He's going to take it himself and score hard off the window. Edey rolling to the rim. 2 and a foul somehow, some way.
As Smith turns the corner, Usman has to help a little bit. Get Edey.
Caleb First. 4-3. Big hurry. Down the lane, Smith. Kick out, Morton. Yes.
The trail guy a lot of the times.
Oh boy. Olivari had it pancaked, and this will be Purdue basketball.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Matt Painter Show, presented by GEMCO Constructors, live tonight at Walk-Ons here in the Purdue Memorial Union. Elliot Bloom filling in for Coach Painter tonight. Okay, Elliot, this has been number 1 on my list. I wanted to talk about this the entire show, but I've saved it for the end because it's so special. The news came down late last week, I think it was. The first ever inaugural Matt Painter Fantasy Camp.
Yep.
35 years old and older. If you think you can hoop at the Division I college basketball level or any level, this is your chance to do it inside Mackey Arena.
Yeah, it's we're really excited about this. We've wanted to do this for a few years. We've kind of kicked the can down the road a little bit, and finally decided to take the plunge and do it. The first fantasy camp that I ever remember, Michael Jordan used to have a fantasy camp in Las Vegas, and it was a big deal. And I remember Coach Katie used to go work the camp, and it was a who's who of coaches back in those days that would go work his fantasy camp. And very similar structure and format. USA Basketball does a fancy camp that they hold out in Colorado, and a handful of programs do fancy camps. So we're getting at that point as we continue to kind of grow the program and explore new things. That this was kind of made a lot of sense. So it's 35 and older. We're going to do it May 30th, 31st, June 1st, and 2nd. It's a 4-day camp. We're going to bring everybody in on Thursday, get them registered in the afternoon, and then have a dinner Thursday night. A lot of our former players are going to come back and work the camp. Our entire staff's going to be there to help coach. Coach Painter is going to kind of be the mayor of the camp and walk around and watch games and probably bust some people's chops and things like that. But it's going to be a real behind-the-scenes deal. They're going to see a lot of cool things. Playing Mackey, obviously, playing Cardinal Court, our practice facility. They're going to get geared out. I'm going through the gear allotment with our equipment manager, Alec, and going through that stuff, the shoes and the shorts and the uniforms and things like that they're going to have. And then we're going to have a lot of good meals and some drink at night, be able to kick back and let the guys put their feet up and just really get to know our staff and former players and kind of what makes our program tick. And it's a chance for basically, if you're 35 and older and especially if you're a Purdue fan, it's a kind of chance to relive some glory moments, right?
Sure.
And go back and maybe hit a game winner on Mackey, things of that nature. So we'll wrap it up on that Sunday morning with a little tournament and have crown a tournament champ, and hopefully those guys will kind of scratch their itch a little bit, in terms of competition, but also really kind of getting to see what Purdue basketball's all about from the inside.
Sure. Will they stay in the dorms?
Actually staying here at the Purdue Union Club Hotel, which we've partnered with, and they're going to host everybody here, which will be great. We've got a bunch of meals set up, different places, and we're really looking forward to it. The camps that Coach Painter's worked for USA Basketball, he always comes back with great stories about the guys he has on those teams. So we're really excited about it again, and I've already had former players. I told you off air that Hummel called me the other day and saw after we had the announcement. He goes, "That just looks like such a blast." And I said, "Well, Rob, you were on my list. I meant to ask you at the opener when we played Samford. He had the call for Big Ten Network, and I said I was going to ask you that night. It got away from me. But we want you to come back and help work the camp and spend some time with these guys." And he's like, "Oh, I'm in." I mean, I think that's why he was calling me, is because he said he wanted to work. So he's in. A bunch of other former players will be in, and we look forward to it.
Our final segment of the Coach Painter Show, presented by GEMCO. When we return here to Walk-Ons, this is the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Bonus volleyball here on Big Ten Plus as Hornung sends that one away, and she finds the floor.
From the outside, she's had 2 aces today.
Swing from Lourdes Myers. Spartans able to keep it alive. Chicoine sends it away. Chloe Chicoine, her 4th ace of the afternoon. Set up again for Hudson. And Eva Hudson.
That's a tough serve by Kulig.
Set up for Hold'em, blocked by Myers. And Chicoine finds some open space in the backcourt. To serve it away. Magic number for the Boilermakers is 2. Set up for Moore. Moore blocked, gets her own block. Ball over. Chicoine again. Chloe Chicoine coming up huge for the Boilermakers in set 4.
They'll use that bench through the game, no doubt. Abby Ellis drives through, kicks it out to Layden. Three-pointer up and good in Madison Layden.
Finding her dynamic duo, Abby Ellis over here.
Feed to the baseline, layup up and good. Madison Layden, more like Madison layup. Now it's Janae Terry pushing in transition, 3-on-4. Euro step up the middle, got blocked, shot out to Terry, and it's an unbelievable assist. Obillo had a little bit of a cold stretch here as Terry with the nice crossover. High feed to Harper and gets the mismatch to go. Legions misses that one. Ball to Layden. Three-pointer up and good.
Lights out player so far this year for her team.
Terry passes it to Ellis. Mid-range jumper up and good. So now for Purdue, it's the ball going forward to Layton. McKenna Layton has it knocked loose. Feed to the post. Harper up.
Final segment here at Walk-Ons of the Matt Painter Show, brought to you by GEMCO. Big thank you to Elliot Bloom for filling in tonight for Coach Painter. Final segment here of the program means it's time for a nugget. Now, remember, the nugget is supposed to be something that hopefully you can't get just anywhere, maybe anywhere, quite frankly, and I mean anywhere. So here you go. When you were watching the game last night, fans, or maybe listening on the radio, or maybe you were live at Mackey Arena, did you notice that for Xavier, Quincy Oliveri was wearing the number 8? Did anyone pick up on that, wearing the number 8? A unique number, obviously, for college basketball. We see that in the pros, but number 8. So if you were thinking to yourself, there are to wear numbers outside what we would consider the normal basketball numbers, yes, they are. That rule actually changed this summer, where in college basketball you can now wear any number between 0 and 99. 0 and 99. But that's not the nugget. You could have found that out just by paying attention to NCAA rules and revisions this summer. The nugget is, why is no Purdue player wearing a non-traditional number? Well, here's the nugget. We actually have 2 players that wanted to wear non-traditional numbers. The numbers being number 8 and number 6. I think I have that right. I know number 6 is one of them. The other one, I believe, is number 8. I'm not going to tell you their names because I don't want to ruin it for them, because it's going to be their special moment, but it's not going to happen until next year. The reason for that is, by the time they made the decision they wanted to switch to a non-traditional number, it was too late in the summer for Nike to get the uniforms turned around in time so they could have, remember, you can't have just one uniform. It would have had to have been every single uniform. So they let our equipment manager, Alec, know, but it was too late in the summer. He called Nike. We'd love to do it, but it's just too late. So it's going to happen next year. So next year, we will have at least 2 players who are wearing non-traditional numbers, number 6 and number 8. What are their names? I'm not going to tell you that. I want it to be their special moment, unless someone here in the audience would like to give me $50 or so, and after the show, I'll whisper it in your ear. But we will have 2 guys next year that are wearing the non-traditional numbers of, I see someone flashing the cash up right back there. We'll talk in a moment. Quick reminder, it's a busy, busy week, fans, for Purdue and the radio network. Coming up tomorrow night, Ryan Walters' coach's show at 6 o'clock right here at Walk-Ons. And then Purdue football, high noon, the kickoff against Northwestern on Saturday with an 11 a.m. broadcast start. And then Purdue basketball next Monday in Honolulu. That is a 5 p.m. tip-off. 5 p.m. tip-off Eastern time. Eastern time, Purdue taking on Gonzaga in Honolulu next Monday. That's 12 noon in Hawaii, but 5 p.m. in the Eastern time zone. Big thank you to all of the folks that helped us out tonight, including Dylan Riggs, Wes Scott, and, of course, Elliot Bloom. I'm Rob Blackman. I'll talk to you next week from Waikiki Beach. Have a great week, everyone.